I'm Alisa Divine, and I have a story of domestic abuse. When I was 16, I got into a relationship. From the beginning, there were red flags, although, it was in the early 90s. I didn't have information on what a healthy relationship looked like versus toxic relationship. I missed a lot of the red flags, such as jealousy, being very jealous of me talking to any other boys, or even having friends that were boys, communicating with them, even hugging them. It just would cause an argument. I knew that it was not right. However, for a time I made excuses, or I thought, it was a one-time thing and he will change. And then, it, as abuse does, it always escalates. There was a lot of cheating. And I remember that really, really ate away at my feelings of self-worth. I really doubted myself a lot and felt like I was not good enough. That perpetuated into my adult years. That was a good portion of why I stayed in that abusive relationship for 18 years. There were red flags in the beginning of the relationship from the time in high school. Jealousy was a very prominent red flag from the beginning. He didn't want me, having other guys as friends or talking to them. I was friends with a guy in class. He wrote me a note. I had the note in my back pocket. It was it was a friendship. I don't even remember what the note said. My boyfriend had found the note in my pocket and said, "You're going to have to go and tell him that you don't want to talk to him anymore and to stop writing you notes." And he knew where he worked, and he drove me over to his place of work and stood outside and watched me as I went into the store and gave him the note back and said, "Do not write me any more notes. I don't want to be friends with you." I just felt so terrible. I felt like I was not myself. He was cheating on me. Actually cheated on me a few times. There was also a lot of controlling behaviors, especially as it progressed after we got married. We got married when I was 21, so we had at that time a 2-year-old daughter. When I was in college, I started my first semester, and a few weeks into my first semester of college, I realized that I was pregnant. That was quite a big deal, to figure out what to do. We were young. 2 years after that, after our daughter was born, that we got married. Throughout the whole time, it was very rocky between us. We were engaged for, I think, a year and a half. We broke off the engagement at one point. There were so many times that we tried to break up. I have 5 close friends from high school who knew about, who were involved and knew of our relationship and knew the things that I went through. We are all over the country. We get together like maybe once a year, once every 2 years. And we recently got together and they said, "Alisa, we remember at your wedding, all of us were talking about it, and the groomsmen too. And we gave you guys like 1 to 3 years. That was the most we thought that you would be together before you got divorced." And it was longer than that. It was a lot longer than that. After we got married, I filed for a divorce a year after our wedding. I packed up my things. My parents came over, helped me move into my grandmother's empty house, and he was enraged. It was a big ordeal. He wrote me a long letter saying how he was so sorry, how he was going to change, how he knew he had an anger problem and he was going to get help with it. Shortly after I moved out, I had a miscarriage. And so I was feeling emotionally wrecked. He gave me that letter. I believed him. I thought he will change. He was very endearing and I wanted to believe him. I wanted him to be a good person. I wanted him to not be so angry, to fix that. So I went back for another 13 years and we had 4 more kids together. And throughout those 13 years, there were additional times when he cheated on me and gave me an STD. There were times of physical violence. There was a time that he attacked me out of town at one of my best friend's wedding. That was another time that I left after that was something that, the police should have been called. They were not. He attacked me with a rotary phone, and I saw my life flash before my eyes. I was able to escape the hotel room, find my friends who were out in the hallway, and they took me from one room to another room to another room for the entire night. He'd banged on all the doors trying to find where I was. The next day, when we flew home, I changed my seat on the flight. My mom had came to meet me to take me back home. She had my kids. I left for a few weeks, and it was a very similar story where he had hit rock bottom, and he was so embarrassed because all of the wedding party knew. It was just for a beautiful day, it was a mess. And he was determined to get help. He found a counselor, and he was doing XYZ. He had a plan. And at that point, I didn't have a way to take care of myself and my 3 kids at the time. So I did go back to the university to see what I could do to recertify in teaching, and I started to make a plan. And then he asked me to go to the counseling, and he was making changes, doing all of these things. It lasted short term, enough for me to go back. We had 2 more kids together. For me, that was a way that I could feel love. I didn't feel like I could be my own person. I felt like I was a reflection of him, or who he wanted me to be, or how he wanted to control me. I didn't have freedom to make my own decisions. He didn't want me to go on and get my graduate degree, my master's degree. Just felt like I didn't have the autonomy to make decisions for myself, not allowing me to make decisions for myself about my friends, my education, or my work. He did things that he never considered to see if I was in agreement with, such as not coming home at night. Definitely a double standard of where he could do whatever he wanted, and I had very few options. In that time, from when we got married into the first time that I filed for divorce, there was a lot of him going out at night after work and then not coming home. He was angry a lot and yelling a lot. I just felt like he was an unhappy person. There was also a time when we went to a water park with our kids over a weekend, and we came home. I don't remember even what the conversation was about. He said something to me, and I was upset, and I had a glass of water in my hand, and I threw the water at him, and he became enraged. The next thing I knew, I was standing up in the middle of the living room, and he came over and he put his hands around my neck, and he choked me. And the thing that I remember were my kids screaming. My oldest daughter grabbed my toddler. The other 2 middle-aged kids went running up the stairs behind her, screaming and crying. And I went into the bathroom afterwards and locked myself in there. And I just laid down on the cold tile, and I debated calling 911. I knew that I needed to call 911, but I was pregnant with our 5th child. And I thought, if I call 911, I know that they will make me leave. We had 2 more kids, and I was still a stay-at-home mom. That was a mistake. Probably the time that I found out that he had cheated on me. I think our 2nd child was about 6 months old. I was not feeling well, so it was over the weekend. I went to the ER, and I was told that I had a UTI, so I was put on antibiotics. Following week, I was taking my daughter to her dance rehearsal, and I heard the phone ring, so I went back into the house. This was before cell phone. It was the doctor from the emergency room. He said, "I just wanted to let you know that you tested positive for gonorrhea, and you might want to let your partner know." And I said, "Oh, you bet I will let my partner know." I was like, hey, I don't even know what gonorrhea is. where did this come from? It certainly was not me. It wrecked me. I just remember not being able to get out of bed for I don't know how long after that. I was so devastated. To me, loyalty is such an important quality in a relationship, and that was all ripped away. That evening, he did admit to it, and he said that it was one time and it happened 6 months ago. It didn't make sense that would happen 6 months ago, and I just got it now. Again, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to, I thought he was telling me something. He's admitting it finally, and maybe we can get through this. Maybe we can work on it. I remember going to my church and talking to my pastor and him telling me to forgive him. It wasn't right, but I wanted a family so much. I wanted it to work out, and I didn't really have other people around me to help me to see. After the choking incident and after our 5th child was born, I didn't consciously decide to leave. However, I consciously decided to start doing some things for myself. I read all the books. I would get online on forums. I eventually went to conferences and things like that, but I was really interested in photography, and I thought, I don't really want to go back to teaching and get recertified. And I'm like, so I'm going to pick up photography and do this for myself. That year really allowed me time to build myself up and to stop listening to what he said and do my own thing. I even remember him wanting me to focus on this kind of photography, which was like newborns and babies, versus doing what I really wanted to do, which was focusing on women and high school seniors and doing the hair and the makeup and the fashion. And he didn't want me doing that, and I think that that's very much so because it was, empowering, and that was threatening to him. About a year after that, I filed for divorce. I had been going to therapy. I remember asking my therapist, do you think that I have enough reason to leave? He looked at me and he said, yes. No question about it. Yes. And to this day, I think that was a game changer. I remember getting home and him being very upset. I had already talked to each of the kids before that, though, separately, in just, 1 to 2 minutes for each of their age level, and told them the mom and dad are going to be living separately. We still love you. You're still going to get to see both of us. This is, what's going on. I knew that I was done. I couldn't work on it anymore, and I would have been the only one working on it because he thought I was always the problem, or I needed to do something different. The day that I had left, I was able to have a place to move into. On that day, we had already had a temporary custody arrangement. We had already had some of the preliminary parts of the divorce in place. The day that I left, I remember I was allowed to take a certain amount of things from the house, and I remember in the morning I was standing in the kitchen at the sink, and he came up behind me and just stood as close as he could to me, said next to my ear, you get your clothes and you get out of here. I didn't even care anymore. I didn't care about any of my stuff. I went, and I think he might have even handed me a garbage bag or something. And I just remember going into my closet and grabbing clothes and put them in my car, and I left. My life now, I'm going to be 47. I am an author. I co-own a publishing company. I have 5 best-selling and award-winning books, have courses online. I teach about women's empowerment. I speak all over the world. I was recently in Kenya at the beginning of the year. I just celebrated my 9th wedding anniversary with my husband. So I have the 5 children, and he had 3 children. So we've have 8 altogether. It has been, quite a journey of, deconstructing what happened, over that relationship from 18 years, but then also building and breaking the cycles, learning the lessons, starting new patterns and new ways of love, learning how to love myself. I remember not loving myself, or not even thinking that I had a purpose or a mission or even any, very much good stuff about myself. It's also been a journey of finding that and honing in on it, really increasing my own value and who I am.